Hey everyone, Jono here. In our last challenge run, we successfully beat the game with Fiends, or at least the ones available to us without a Pocketstation. This earned the deck an A rank on our boards. Despite the high rank, you and I both know that they can go even further beyond. So let's fire up our little devices and kick off some communication fusion. That's what I would say if I wasn't having some battery issues with one of the Pocketstations. So for this video, let's assume that life isn't a fustercluck and everything is working properly. Using obtained via infrared, I'd get myself a copy of Summon Skull. As for the rest, using communication fusion, we'd combine a copy of Zero the Mon, Chakra, Fiend Mirror, and Psycho Puppet. For those of you that have no idea what a Pocketstation is, there's a video on my channel where I cover it off for Forbidden Memories. Anywho, this is what our Pocketstation Fiend deck looks like. Let's do this.
Halt! Halt! I think we found the best. Inform Master Haishana shall put him to the test. I'll darken his world. Witness the abyss. Royal Sebek, the powerful, puts an end to all of this.
Halt, halt, partner in distress. Neku, grab your body cause this dueling is a mess. Darkening this field won't make fiends go extinct. They all stared into this void, but you're the one who blinked. Your repercussion is concussion. That's the end of this discussion. Feel the thunder from down under as I turned your world asunder. I have taken all you wanted in this victory needed most. To the winner go the spoils, I'll be taking your flame ghost.
This is Neku the skillful, stepping to the plate. This mockery will not stand, execution cannot wait. I lay a card face down, let's see you take the bait. A sharper wit is all that's needed. Now to punish this ingrate. Picture up, Zero the Mon, block the attack. Wait, I can't, this isn't fair, this isn't fun. You use Raigeki for strike one.
Strike two, boo-hoo, take a tissue 1 or 2. At this rate you'll be defeated, a state defeating the conceited. Say your prayers, the end is nigh, now there's lightning in the sky. Did you think this win was free? Such a shame to not be me. Did I forget to call a hearse? Nah, too busy with this verse.
Mercy, please hold the clout.
Sorry, strike 3, battle route.
I haven't come this far to be beaten by a child. You better beg for forgiveness as I unleash and go back wild. Enough! Stop! How did you gather all these fiends? This power, this presence, what exactly were your means? This wicked creation is a pure abomination. The answer is so clear. Must have used a Pocketstation. Darn it, I'm shook, unbecoming of a crook. No advantage was all that's needed to make my plays an open book. My confidence is shot and I can hear it in my inflection. There's a loser in that mirror and it looks like my reflection.
Of course there'd be a rap. It's a trivia video. It's what I do. Anywho, with Haishin defeated, we now move on to the Seto third cutscene. My goal for the rest of this run is to showcase all the 3D animations for these monsters. Assuming I draw the right cards. If not, I'll just splice it into the end of this video. Speaking of which, the second half of this video will be full of all the trivia that I missed out in the original Fiend run. Strap yourselves in for that one, it's going to be boring as bat crap. Okie dokie Loki, we are now up against Seto third. Drawing up our first hand, it's a bit of a bust. As a precaution, I'm just going to pop off a Yami just so we have that extra bit of attack power for the eventual Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Which after that turn 1, I don't think he has. He's bricked. He's set what I can only imagine to be a widespread ruin. Looks like this duel's going to be a little drawn out. Turn 2, he sets another one, but thankfully we draw into a Chakra. Let's power this bad boy up and get it ready for a 3D battle. Finally, Seto summons out a monster. Being a Mars, I can only imagine it to be a Meteor Black Dragon. Sacrificing our, I think it's Ushioni, yep, sacrificing Ushioni, we kick off our first 3D battle with Chakra. Killing the dragon with our Egyptian corkscrew, we pass the turn back to Seto. He sets a moon monster, so that's likely a Black Skull Dragon. Looking into my hand, I do have a Psycho Puppet. Unfortunately, it's not strong enough to do anything. I'm going to take a risk and summon it and see if I can get a 3D animation for the next turn. In hindsight, I probably should have just attacked with it. I would have only copped a detriment of 200 life points. But no matter, I'll probably have everything sorted in the DarkNite fight. With Blue Eyes taking out our Psycho Puppet, it's back to us. Using our Zero the Mont in our hand, let's kick off a 3D animation against his Blue Eyes. If that looked choppy to you, just know it looks the exact same when slowed down, at least on my copy of the game. Seto Third goes down and awards us a Mega Zowler. First try victory as you probably expect. Recovering from our earlier rap battle, Haishin has returned and he isn't too happy. You can infer that he's enraged by the knife that is brandished on us. Very good. Giving the giant baby his Millennium toys, he throws them in the coffin and summons out DarkNite. DarkNite denies Haishin whatever request he asked for, because technically he can only be commanded by the wielder of the Millennium items, i.e. the things that exploded within the sarcophagus when he came out. Having our own technicality in the form of trading cards, the sequence is ended and we thrust ourselves into a duel with DarkNite. DarkNite is easy. He has some problematic spell and trap cards, but other than that, if you can summon something over 3500 attack, you win. My goal therefore in this duel is to bring out as many of our new monsters as possible and kick off some 3D battles. Unfortunately, I draw a crappy hand. Oh well. Bringing out Zero once more, we take out his Black Skull Dragon. Passing the game back to him, he summons out, looking at it, son, that's probably a Blue Eyes White Dragon. Again, we don't draw into any new cards, so we take out his Blue Eyes with Zero once more and attack directly with Summon Skull. Back over to DarkNite, he summons a Venus in defense mode, which is probably a Cosmo Queen. Drawing up a Fiend's mirror, let's actually show off the animation, instead of skipping it for that last rap video. My bad. Destroying Cosmo Queen with her own reflection, we attack directly with Summon Skull and try and squeeze out one more turn of this duel. Drawing up our hand, we get, unfortunately, nothing new. Time to put an end to this. Clearing out his monster card, we attack directly with Bakuri Box and DarkNite goes down. He awards us a Flame Swordsman. Fading to black, then fading to white, we're up against Nitemare. Let's go. I will say that having access to a Pocketstation trivializes this game. The Japanese players of this game had a comically easier time compared to the rest of the world. Getting back to the duel, Nitemare Bricks ends up summoning a Gate Guardian on turn 1. No Ultimate Dragon. In our hand, we do manage to draw a Psycho Puppet. We have just enough defense points to defend against Gate Guardian. Passing the turn back to Nitemare, he summons out another face down. Being a moon, it's probably a Black Skull Dragon. Drawing into a Megamorph, we power up our evil puppet and kick off a 3D battle against Gate Guardian. That is hands down got to be the bloodiest 3D animation I've seen in this game. What the heck? Gaining back control, we summon out a Zoa and power it with Horn of the Unicorn. In hindsight, I should have just used the Raigeki because that other face down is a Meteor Black Dragon. Back to Nitemare, and to nobody's surprise, he takes out Zoa. We are now up to the final, I'm going to say 2 turns of the game. We boost up a Summon Skull with a Megamorph and clear out his field. Attack 1 to the Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, and attack 2 to the Meteor Black Dragon. Nitemare summons out literally anything, and we clear it away with the Raigeki for the win, and a final attack for game with Psycho Puppet. We win! Nitemare goes down, gives us a dragon, and we have successfully beaten the final 6 using Pocketstation Fiends, all while incurring 0 losses in the process. With the victory fanfare out of the way, let's go to the rankings. This variant of the deck gave us access to Summon Skull as a solo card and Zero the Mont. Those two were our 2 main heavy hitters at 2500 and 2800 attack respectively. This places them just below Pocketstation Spellcasters. Spellcasters gained access to Cosmo Queen, Magician of Black Chaos and Exodia. All of those higher than both the 2 cards we've unlocked. Alright, it's now time for the trivia block of this video. This is where we rattle off trivia and fun facts about all the Fiend monsters that we didn't get to use in our base videos. If this isn't your thing, that's okay. You can drop off now and I'll catch you in the next episode. As for the rest of you amazing people, let's take a look at our first monster, that being Monster Eye. Monster Eye is available in the initial deck and released in the TCG as part of World Championship 2010. It has not been reprinted since. This monster appears in the artwork of Fusion Recycling Plant, and that's about all there is to know. Up next we have Gorgon Egg. Gorgon Egg is available in the initial deck and is an OCG only card, releasing in Booster Pack 4. It has not been reprinted since. This monster appears in the artwork of Gorgon Charm and Gorgonic Temptation. The next monster on the list is Kuriboh. This card has enough trivia about it to be its own standalone episode. Rather than focusing on the generic details, I'm going to look at the lesser known facts. Kuriboh is a member of the 100 recolored counterparts, with its direct counterpart being Wretched Ghost of the Attic. Speaking of counterparts and other related monsters, Kuriboh has a friggin' crapload of them. In no particular order, we have Kuriboh, Kuribi, Kuribe, and Kuribu, his brothers. We have Rainbow Kuriboh, Clear Kuriboh, Kuriborn, the two Link monster counterparts being Link Kuriboh and Lingoriboh, three Rushdoll counterparts in Dark Guiding Kuriboh, Kuribot, and Kuriboh Torero, I can't even pronounce that properly. Moving to the Wing Kuriboh counterparts, we have Wing Kuriboh level 9, and Wing Kuriboh level 10. He has three performable counterparts in Performable Kuribobble, Performable Burrow Kuriboh, and Performable Classic Kuriboh. Onto the Galaxy counterparts, we have Galactic Kuriboh, the Junk counterpart Junk Kuriboh, the Photon counterpart Kuriphoton, Dark Magician based counterpart in Magic Kuriboh, Monster Reborn, counterpart Ankariboh, the Relinquished counterpart in Relink Kuriboh, Winged Dragon of Rust Spear Mode based counterpart Sphere Kuriboh, and lastly, the Kuriboh counterpart that spent too much time in Yharnam, granting itself more eyes, which is Sangan, aka Kurita in Japanese. Looking at Forbidden Memories, if you stay on the Game Over screen long enough, you'll see Kuriboh hopping along the screen. I've never seen this, I win all the time, he lied. In the Japanese version of Mario Bros, the Goombas are actually called Kuribohs. I did not know that, I had to Google to find that one out. And that's about all there is to know for now. The next card on the list is Fungi of Musk. This monster is also available in the initial deck and released in Booster Pack 5 of the OCG. There is nothing else worth a mention, unfortunately. Up next is Embryonic Beast. It's available in the initial deck. Embryonic Beast is another monster capable of fusing into Summon Skull. It's a specific fusion. If you combine it with a Time Wizard, Summon Skull is the result. Hooray for that. Outside of that, this monster has a counterpart in Rushdoll called Embryonic Dark Ruler. The next card is also part of the initial deck, and that's Mystery Hand. It released in the OCG as part of the starter box and has not been reprinted since. We now move on to Kuriboh's counterpart, Wretched Ghost of the Attic. Wretched Ghost is a recolored counterpart and released in TCG Tournament Pack 8. This monster received a Memento retrain in Mementolan Gatic. I can't pronounce either of those two things, so I hope you do a better job than I do. It's a bio, it's a plant, it's a bio plant. Releasing in Volume 5 of the OCG, it hasn't seen the light of day since then. In Forbidden Memories, this card is one of the materials needed to ritual summon Hungry Burger. It is also available in the initial deck. Up next we have Candle of Fate. It's part of the initial deck in Forbidden Memories. It released in Volume 1 of the OCG and has not been reprinted since. In terms of its lore as a monster, this card is a reference to the Hand of Glory. I'm not too familiar with the folklore, but the Petite Albert is the text that describes the process to create one. I'll leave it at that in case I get flagged for witchcraft. The next card is Madjinn Gunn. No idea why this is a fiend, it looks positively adorable. This monster released in the OCG starter box and has not been reprinted since. The next monster is Dark Prisoner, a card that's included in the initial deck. This monster made a TCG appearance in the Speed Duel starter deck Twisted Nightmares. That took a friggin' while from OCG land. Aside from that, it hasn't been reprinted since. We now have Hiro's Shadow Scout. It's another card from the initial deck. This is a recolored counterpart of Miyotoko. Hiro, as a personal card, doesn't exist. It's something that the localization team invented. Its original Japanese name translates to Demon Scout. Congrats on getting a name, my dude. Someone out there likes you. The next monster is Wicked Mirror. Surprise, surprise, it also comes from the initial deck. There's a freaking lot of those cards. Anywho, This monster is only called Wicked Mirror in the early video games, all the way up until Tag Force 1. From that point, its name was amended to Archfiend Mirror. It is very strange that they did that, as this monster only released in Booster Pack 1 and didn't receive any reprints. Regardless, it technically receives a benefit from all other Archfiend support. So yeah, go ahead and splash that in for some spicy tech. The next monster available in the initial deck is the Drdek. It released in Volume 1 of the OCG. The wikis say that this monster's English name is a reference to Matthew Drdek, who dubbed the anime. If I had a monster named after me, I probably would have picked something better than the Team U version of Miggy. The next monster on the list is Needleball. It's available in the initial deck. This monster released in Storm of Ragnarok and has not been reprinted since. This monster has had no anime appearances according to the wiki, but then the wiki goes further to contradict itself, as the reference picture of this card is a snapshot of it from the anime during the Waking of the Dragons arc. Moving on to the next monster, we have Meda Bat. It is also available in the initial deck. This monster was released in the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon set. As for the card lore, this monster is Dark's familiar, and naturally appears in the artwork of Dark the Charmer and Familiar Possessed Dark. The monster has had one anime appearance as a dual spirit. Midnight Fiend, another card from the initial deck. The monster released in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 1 and has not been reprinted since. Moving on to the next card in the initial deck, we have the Shadow Who Controls the Dark. This card released in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 1 in 1999. It became available to the TCG in the Speed Stool Starter Deck Twisted Nightmares in 2020. That is 21 friggin' years between OCG to TCG. Better late than never, I guess. The next card on our list is Megirus Light. It's available in the initial deck to nobody's surprise. This monster's 3D model is interesting. In Forbidden Memories, as you can see before you, the card is a floating mask with a spectral body. In Duelist of the Roses, the game's sequel, it is a human whose face is covered by a mask. As for the card game, it released in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 2 and has not been reprinted since. Finally, a card not in the initial deck, we have Castle of Dark Illusions. It's a rather iconic card of the early series. It was a key monster used by Panic in the anime. In Forbidden Memories, Castle of Dark Illusions has a unique fusion. If you combine it with a Dark Piercing Light, the end result will be the equipped card Bright Castle. Getting back to the initial deck, we have Invader from Another Dimension. This monster is a recolored counterpart to Basic Insect. I have no idea how this is a fiend, but it is what it is. As for the TCG, this released as a short print as part of Astral Pack 7. The next card is King Fog. It is also available in the initial deck. This monster is King Fog. This card is Fog King. Who is the true king? Well, both are, because the Japanese name for King Fog is King Smoke, and the name for Fog King is King Mist. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. The next monster we're covering off is Claw Reacher. Available in the initial deck, this is one of the first cards that appeared in the anime, showcased in both Episode 1 and then Episode 2. In the TCG, this card was released in Starter Deck Yugi and has not been reprinted since. Moving on, we have Ancient Brain. It is available in the initial deck and actually has a unique fusion in Forbidden Memories. If you combine this card with the trap card Invisible Wire, it will become Tainted Wisdom. Despite both of the two monsters in the TCG being the fusion materials for Skull Knight, that combination sadly does not work in Forbidden Memories. Likely because that concept of a fusion didn't exist yet. The next card we're covering off is Sangan. It's an iconic card in both the series and in the TCG. In terms of the anime, it appeared in the Toei animation, aka Season 0, Duelist Kingdom, and randomly in one of the openings of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. The monster itself has its own mini storyline. It was mentioned in the OCG Master Guide 4. The cards that depict this card lore are Tour Bus from the Underworld, Mistake, Tour Bus to Forbidden Realms, Shared Ride, Mistaken Arrest, and Mistaken Accusation. To save you the trip, I'll cover off the storyline. While making a tour to his homeland, the Underworld, Sangan ended up on the wrong bus, and was picked on by monsters from the Tribe Infecting Virus card. After fleeing the bus, Sangan shared a taxi ride with the Angel from Graceful Charity. Unbeknownst to Sangan, the driver, one of the imps from Delinquent Duo, was illegally transporting Pot of Greed. When it was stopped at a checkpoint, he and the Angel were arrested as its accomplices. When we last see Sangan, he was in a holding cell with Witch of the Black Forest. He was sobbing while clinging to the bars, pleading with the guard to let him out. And I wish there was more to that, but sadly, that's it. poor bloke probably stayed in prison until he came back with an errata. We'll end things there with Sangan. These next two I'm going to cover off together. Those are Ryu-Kishin and Ryu-Kishin Powered. Ryu-Kishin is available in the initial deck, whilst its powered counterpart drops from Forest Mage. There isn't any explicit lore as to how these cards are connected, but by pure naming convention, Powered is no doubt a powered version of this card. There are some inferences you can make if you dig around hard enough into Pojo forums, and the key linkage between these cards stem from the King of Yami Makai. It's a bit of a stretch, but according to what I've read, King of Yami Makai is the Demon King, as per its name. Ryu-Kishin, as well as many other cards, are servants of the Yami Makai. The powered state, I suspect, is something that was bestowed to it from King of Yami Makai. The supporting argument behind this is that the King of Yami Makai had a hand in the ritual that turned the Warrior of Zero into Zero the Mont. What were one of the materials for Zero the Mont? That's correct, Ryu-Kishin Powered. King of Yami Makai has its own backstory around it, especially around his influence in creating the DD versions of other cards. So powering up a Ryu-Kishin is something he'd be more than capable of. Ignoring my SMS tone, the next card on the list is Key Mace number 2. It's a monster available in the initial deck and is a recolored counterpart of Key Mace. It released worldwide in the World Championship 2010 pack, and that's all there is to know. The next card on the list is Versago the Destroyer. It's a monster that's available in the initial deck and was also one of the monsters included in our main deck of the story. According to the wiki, the name Versago is an intentional mistranslation. It was done to not reference Versago, the Demon Prince of Hell's southern region. I am probably butchering both those names, but yeah, you get where I'm going with that. Speaking of things as confusing as my pronunciation, the next card on the list is Metal Guardian. Right off the bat, I'm thinking the same thing you guys are. How is this card a fiend? Well, it stems from its release in the Bandai version of the card game, where machines didn't exist. The monster was instead a warrior with 1500 attack and 2800 defense. What a monster. When it was converted across, Konami gave it a flavor text, and in that flavor text, it called the monster a demonic guardian, hence the fiend typing. And that's it for this identity crisis. Vaguely resembling the green monster on Ultimate Offering, our next monster is Terra the Terrible. Terra released in the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack, and sadly that's all there is on this card. Moving back to the initial deck, our next monster is Big Eye. This monster released in the TCG as part of Metal Raiders. The monster appears on the artwork of Free Range Monsters. It has no relation to number 11 Big Eye, at least from what I know so far. The next monster we're covering off is Dark King of the Abyss. It's also available in the initial deck. This monster has some serious beef with Dark Ruler Hades. There are many cards which depict this guy getting the ever-loving crap beat out of him until one day he learnt the ability Skill Drain and started dishing it back in droves to Dark Ruler. That's some real Deoxys and Rayquaza crap right there. I love it. The next monster we're covering off is that which feeds on life. It's available in the initial deck. The monster released in the TCG as part of the Speed Duel starter deck Twisted Nightmares. And yes, before you comment, this monster is a striking resemblance to one of your ex-partners. You know the one. Moving on to something else tainted, we have the monster Tainted Wisdom. This card is available in the initial deck. All its other trivia was already covered off when we reviewed Ancient Brain. The next card is Trial of Nightmares. Again, available in the initial deck. This monster was initially released as Trial of Hell in the Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon pack. It later received a censorship errata to name it Trial of Nightmares. The next monster on the list is Crass Clown. This card is a counterpart to Clown Zombie. This actually fuses to make Clown Zombie if you combine it with Final Flame. When mixed with reptiles, it is one of the only 2 clown monsters that you can use to create Soul Hunter. As for its anime appearances, all of you know that Bones used this card in his duel against Joey. And we'll leave it at that, because the next card is Reaper of the Cards, one of the 6 available glitch fusions in Forbidden Memories. Combining Komori Dragon with Sagi the Dark Clown will result in this card, despite neither of those 2 monsters having Reaper of the Cards listed in their fusion tables. For those of you that have no idea what the hell a glitch fusion is, I gave you a detailed explanation in the Fiend video. Check the timestamps if you want to read back to it. Moving to the OCG, this monster was one of the first ever effect monsters, releasing in Volume 3. It then made its way to the TCG in Dark Beginnings 1. The next monster on the list is Mystic Clown, another clown card. Its earliest drop in Forbidden Memories comes from Kaiba. We skipped over this card in our playthrough as it got power crept too quickly. Wasn't worth grinding for it. Moving to the TCG, this card was released in Yu-Gi and Kaiba starter decks and was not reprinted since. Probably for the same reason. The next monster on the list is Morinphen. This is considered one of the top utterly useless monsters in the early OCG. It is a level 5 normal monster with horrible stats. Its attack stat is the biggest troll, making it unsearchable by cards like Sangan and Mystic Tomato, being 1550 attack. This monster has popularity in the OCG for being a meme, and still is to this day from the last time I checked. Any card sleeves created that depict this monster were probably purely done out of meme purposes. Gotta love the internet. Moving on to the next card, we have Dark Chimera. Dark Chimera drops from Martis and Segmenton. The card released in the OCG in Volume 7 and has not been reprinted since. The next monster we're covering off actually dropped from Seto 3rd in our Fiend video, but its earliest available drop came from Martis, Kapura or Segmenton. We are of course talking about Whiptail Crow. This monster is one of the 100 recolor counterparts, being the direct recolor of Kurama. The next card is Mabarrel. Mabarrel? I don't know. Anyways, this card is obtainable through the story. It is one at its earliest as a random drop from Martis. Moving to the card game, the monster released in the OCG as part of Booster Pack 2 and has not been released to the TCG as of the making of this video. Looking at its Japanese name, it translates to Devil Cannon. That's neat, I guess. The next monster we're looking at is Neck Hunter. This monster is obtainable from the story, and the earliest opportunity you have to get it is from Martis. It was an OCG only card that released in Booster Pack 6. It finally made its way to the TCG as part of the Speed Duel starter deck Twisted Nightmares, 11 years later. Jeez, that deck reprinted a lot of these cards. Anywho, we now move on to our final monster, and that of course is Zoa. This monster is the strongest vanilla fiend according to the wiki. I have no idea when they were last updated. It goes without saying that this monster has a metal counterpart named Metal Zoa. It also ended up with a retrain that released in the Rage of the Abyss called Zoa the Fiendish Beast. Leaving on the last trivia fact of the video, Zoa's Japanese name is Devil Zoa, and that's real friggin' neato. Hey everyone, Jono here. Thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video. I had intended to get this one out to you much earlier, but a few things got in the way. Never fear, the next video is already at the World Tournament, so that's battling along as we speak. I will say that it did lose to Story Heishin. Ooh. Before I sign off, I just want to give a shout out to my supporters. Over on the YouTube side we have Costeru Des, John Campbell 45, Hollywood Big Boss, and Lily Laser 666. Over on Twitch we have Danunu, Rancid Fever, Shanna Heart 33, Dark Adder 69, Madios UK, Rizeku, Titar J&D, and Alexis Bexus. Seriously, all of you are amazing and you truly give me the motivation to keep this up. Thank you. Speaking of keeping things up, this channel has recently hit 30,000 subscribers. What the heck people, I am shockingly blown away by this and I am equally thankful to all of you. Anywho, I have droned on for long enough and it's time to end things here. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to stay notified of any new videos. Until then, please, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw a Raigeki for the win and I'll be seeing you all soon.